Hello. I am just finishing setting everything up. Um, Hi. So I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram here. So I'll be looking back and forth. And I want to just okay, be looking at both. So Instagram here, YouTube here. I am going to go ahead and get started right away because I am going to save this and post it for folks that necessarily can't join now, but want to watch it later. So the point of this live is for really me to do my part as a psychologist, as a mental health professional, to offer what I know to be empowering when it comes to uplifting your mindset and really coping with traumatic experiences like we've all been experiencing lately. I don't think people really realize how traumatic it is to our psyche to see a man being killed on video, and that being constantly shown to us, constantly shown to us, and especially people of color to see this constantly happen. And thankfully now it's not only being taken up by people of color, but people of all races, of all origins, of all countries have really joined in on this fight, and have been affected by what's going on. So the mental health toll that this is taking is really my space and where I think I can offer really value to you. And I really want to bless you with my knowledge when it comes to healing, moving forward, making change while taking care of your mental health. Specifically, this type of this cultural conscious trauma is what I would call it. So just a little background on me. I am Dr. Tiffany Shelton. I'm a psychologist and I'm the owner of the store Conscious Life Shop, where we sell meditation cushions. I also wrote my dissertation on reducing bias against African American women in the form of stereotypes using imagery. So I wrote and researched extensively on how to decrease racial bias against African American women. I'm also the co-creator of a course at Antioch University called Clinical Considerations When Treating African American Women. Again, did a lot of research and clinical services in the field, really getting down to the gist of how can we show up for Black women in the therapeutic sense without making them be our teacher, making them be your teacher as a therapist, or inflicting unknown biases that you may not even know that you have when treating African Americans. So I taught that to training therapists, and then I've also held healing circles for women of color and just all people throughout the years to heal from these type of traumatic experiences, starting from like Trayvon Martin. Ongoingly, I've had periodic times where I've had healing circles in the community, which before I was living in Los Angeles, where I held these spaces to really create a space for mental healing. So I have a plethora of knowledge in this field, and I felt like it was my duty to share that. Most recently, I've been producing a lot of content on how to manifest. And so what better way to use our manifestation powers than to produce change and to produce justice? So with that said, I'm going to jump right in because, as you know, I have a little baby, or you may not know, I have a little baby, and she's only going to give me so much time with her father. So I want to make the best use of this time. So I will jump right in. If you have a piece of paper or a journal that you can take notes on, I think that you will find that valuable, or you can rewatch it and take notes, because I'm going to jam pack this with a lot of information to mentally empower you, and I want to make sure that you get it all. So pen and paper would be actually really helpful. And I do have my notes here because I just want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the most value possible. So I will be looking down and looking at my notes just to make sure that I'm touching on all the things that I want to say. So I want to ask for your grace and for your forgiveness for looking down in advance. So the first thing I want to say when it comes to feeling hopeless and heartbroken in this situation, that can really bring us down, and affect our ability to produce change. So I think this whole live is dedicated to how do we combat that feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, that despair that comes from the heartbreak of this senseless violence and racism that's been going on. So the first step for me is really define the change that you want to see in the world, because that's going to set your course off. We want to get clear on our intentions. We want to get really clear on what it is exactly that we want to see change. I want to say hi to Brittany, who waved in the comments, and thank you everybody that's already joined as well. I know it's the middle of a weekday. So I want to quote a quote from Angela Davis. She says, "The real content in any revolution lies in the principles and the goals you are striving for, not in the way you reach them." And I think President Obama hit on this very poignantly in his, was it a live yesterday, town hall meeting. So first, get really clear on what you want to see happen in this revolution. What is the change that you personally want to see? So some ideas are raising awareness against police brutality. Another goal is defunding the police that you've seen in your community as a way to speak, to use your dollars as a sense of revolution. Another goal could be financial support for causes like bail funds and people that are out there on the front lines or providing supplies. Another goal could be arresting those that have been responsible. I know that there have been arrests made in the case of George Floyd, but to my knowledge, as of now, as far as Breonna Taylor is concerned, there have been no arrests. So, hello. So I want you to write down as an action item one goal that you would like to see happen in this world of revolution that's happening right now. I think it can be really overwhelming to want to think about all the things that need to change, right, in the system. There's systematic injustice, there's the prison system, there's healthcare disparities. There's so many things that need to change. So I want to really invite you to write down one thing that would be really close to your heart, whether it's helping children in poverty, whether it's, raising awareness about what's really been going on. Write down that one goal that you have in mind that would really uplift your heart if you were to see some change in that area. Sorry, I'm trying to talk to both cameras. I feel like I'm neglecting YouTube, but I'm here with you too. So that's the first thing, just kind of defining what we want. And then the second thing is I want you to heal from the trauma and find ways to experience joy. Sorry, my phone is getting a little bit low battery, so I'm definitely going to talk fast. So before you can move on to making any sort of kind of change, it starts with your mental state right now. When you're coming from a place of heartbrokenness and despair and hopelessness, your behaviors are going to be directly linked to that type of mindset. So you're not going to be able to take any type of action. And I think especially for people of color that have experienced this over and over again, I think it's really, really important to first and foremost, before you get on those front lines, before you just, dedicate yourself to making any type of action, we really need to take care of ourselves, because the joy and the freedom that we're seeking starts with ourselves. And when we can come from a more grounded place, we can affect change in a more profound way, rather than being on our last string or about to have a nervous breakdown or fully depressed. I want to really empower you, and I want to say to a lot of people that may not have heard this before, you have the right to be happy. You don't have to walk around this world because of everything that's going on. I think you feel as a person of color this pressure to stay in that sadness. And I want you to accept those feelings. I want you to feel it, but I also want you to move from it and be able to feel empowered that you have the right to feel that freedom and that liberty and that joy that you're fighting for. You have that right here and right now. I want to read you a quote from Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. He said, "I am fundamentally an optimist. Whether that comes from nature or nurture, I cannot say. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed towards the sun, one's feet moving forward. There were many dark moments when my faith in humanity was sorely tested, but I would not and could not give up myself to despair. That way lays defeat and death." And Audre Lorde, who I also love and respect, also said, "Self-care is an act of political warfare." So there is a way to produce change and to move forward from a grounded place, from a place where you're taking care of yourself, from a place where you're not on your last nerve really, or just fighting every day to survive. There's a way to thrive and also fight. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. One of the ways you can do that is to really rely on your higher power. Harriet Tubman said, "It wasn't me, it was the Lord. I always told him, I trust you. I don't know where to go or what to do, but I expect you to lead me." And he always did. So if you're having a hard time finding that joy, finding that relief, and all you have is that despair and hopelessness, I really want you to maybe tune into your higher power. Take a moment to be still, to meditate, to really connect with God. And if you're a believer, I want to read. This is devotional my dad bought me. It's called Jesus Calling. And today, June 4th, just so you can see, I thought this was pretty profound. It said, "Welcome challenging times as opportunities to trust me. You have me beside you, my spirit within you. No set of circumstances is too much for you to handle. When the path before you is dotted with difficulties, beware of measuring your strength against those challenges. That calculation is certain to riddle you with anxiety. Without me, you wouldn't make it past the first hurdle. The way to walk through demanding days is to grip my hand tightly and to stay in close communication with me. Let your thoughts and spoken words be richly flavored with trust and thankfulness. Regardless of the day's problems, I can keep you in perfect peace as you stay close to me." So for me, that is always a way to find my joy and my happiness again, is to connect with God, because he has brought me through so many tribulations. I'm not going to give my whole testimony right here on Instagram, but just trust me when I say that I can always lean on him. Another thing you can do is not try to push your emotions away, because when we try to push our emotions away, we end up making them worse. They come back knocking at our door even harder. So we do things like drink, or we might overshop, or whatever we have to do to avoid those emotions, and then they come back a little bit harder. I want to encourage you to accept them, take moments to really sit with them and really learn what they're trying to tell you. So if you're feeling sadness, it might be that you're feeling out of control. If you're feeling anxiety, you might be feeling unsafe or insecure. If you're feeling anger, it might be feeling like you're not being heard or you're being invalidated. So I want you to tune into what it is, the emotions that you're feeling, and really ask yourself, what are these emotions here to tell me, instead of pushing them away. Malcolm X said, "Usually when people are sad, they don't do anything. They just cry over their condition. But when they get angry, they bring about a change." So I want to share with you guys the emotional guidance scale. So I'll put it up to Instagram first. It has a list of emotions. Way down here is fear, grief, depression, despair, and way up here is joy. And I'll show it to YouTube as well. This is from the Abraham-Hicks website. And I want to encourage you, I know it's really hard to go from hopelessness to reach all the way up to joy, but if you can even move up from despair to anger, that's already a shift that's going to empower you. Because as long as we're on that bottom toll of just feeling hopeless, it really affects what we're able to do. So if you're able to do anything to get yourself moving, any behaviors that are going to just make you feel a little bit more empowered, it's going to help you shift out of that hopelessness so you can actually be able to make change. Even if you're still feeling angry or enraged or want revenge, you're still moving up that emotional scale. And that's going to really help you feel empowered. Another way is I have a high vibrations video. And if you're not into the whole hippie thing, high vibrations is just another way of saying joy. So it tells you step by step how to feel joy every single day. And if you check out my YouTube channel, I have that video on how to vibrate high, which will help you. So my action item for this step is to really take note of what feelings that you're feeling right here that you've been feeling in the last few days. Write those down. Ask yourself, what are they trying to tell you? If you need help with that, DM me. Anybody that's DM me probably knows that I'm overly happy to help people. That's how I find my purpose and my value. I would love to help you in that sense, or if you have any questions about what I'm talking about. And then once you really accept those emotions, I want you to do one thing that's going to move you up a little bit. So if you're feeling sadness, I want you to do something to feel empowered. If you're feeling angry, I want you to do something to feel heard, whether that's posting on Instagram, talking to somebody, wearing a shirt. And I'm going to plug Janelle Boutique. They have a really cute mood shirt that you could check out. And if you're feeling anxious, I want you to do something to feel grounded. Meditate, whether that's pray, whether that's write down everything you're grateful for that makes you feel safe in this moment. I want you to do one thing to shift your mindset a little bit higher. In the link to this YouTube video, in the description of the YouTube video, I have put Gabby Bernstein's rendition of this emotional guidance scale, and she also gives you tips on how to move up the scale as well. The next thing is I want you to focus on what you want. So when it comes to manifestation, it's all about what you want and putting your thoughts upon it, like really thinking about what it is that you want. And I have a quote from Rosa Parks, and she said, "I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear." So I want you guys to really make up your mind and then focus your mind on what you want. And that alone is going to diminish your fear, because you're shifting your mind from the fear or the anger or the hopelessness to what it is that you want. So I want to empower you to believe in the change that you want to see, because these traumas can make us feel helpless, and you have the power within you to make a difference. I have another quote from Harriet Tubman, which you may have seen on my Instagram, that says, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and change the world." That's Harriet Tubman. And then Nelson Mandela also said, it always seems impossible until it's done. So think about what you want and believe in what you want. I think that when these things happen, and I'm guilty of this too, you start sometimes thinking, when it's constantly happening, there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can do. Nothing's ever going to change. People have been protesting for decades. And I think President Obama made a really good point yesterday. He's like, yeah, people were protesting in the 60s, but when he looked around, it didn't look like what it looks like today. It wasn't the whole world coming together. It was Black people for the civil rights movement, and a few allies, but in general, it has really shifted the way it looks. So things are changing, and you can look for evidence in the world that things are changing. I don't know if I just follow woke people, but I'm very proud of the allies on my timeline. And I really want to bring that into my awareness that things are changing. And I see people really calling out systematic racism and doing their part and not hiding behind privilege. So we still have a lot of work to do, but I want you to believe in change and really focus your mindset on that it's possible. So my action item for this is to focus your mind on what it is that you want by creating either a vision board of the change you want to see, of equality, of justice. There's a technique called scripting that you can do, which is just writing about what the change that you want to see as if it has already happened. I have videos on my YouTube channel about both of these, so I won't go into them. And then just sort of daydreaming about what would a world look like for that change that you want to see, because that's really going to shift your mindset to really think about it as it's happened, especially the vision board. Sorry, I think a storm is coming in Colorado. It's really going to focus your mind on the possibility that it is actually possible. And then my last thing, second to last thing, is aligned action. So I want you to align your actions once you feel joyful, once you feel in a better mental space, once you know what it is that you want and you're actually believing in that change. We want to align what we're doing with what we want. And we also want to align what we're doing with our higher power, that God that lives inside of us. So Martin Luther King Jr. said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." So don't be one of those that stays in silence. And I'm talking to allies as well as people of color. We really want to take action that aligns in with what we want. Jolie, I know it's just a storm. Sorry, my cat is crying. I'm going to let her out. Okay. So in the YouTube link description that a plethora of aligned actions that you can take. So teach your kids. You can also address bias within your community. You can widen your circle, diversify what you watch. This is a quote from an ally, Tim Wise. He wrote the book White Like Me, Reflections on Race and from a Privileged Son. And he says, and let's just be honest, there's no such place called justice. If by that we envision a finish line or a point at which the battle is won and the need to continue the struggle is over with. After all, even when you succeed in obtaining a measure of justice, you're always forced to mobilize to defend that which you've won. There's no looming vacation, but there is redemption in struggle. So that I just encourage you to keep on moving. So even though these 3 cops have been arrested, even though the charges have been brought further on the main guy, there's still work to be done and there's still actions to take. And as long as you're vibrating high, you know what you want. I want to really empower you, encourage you, pray for you to actually take the actions that's going to continue this fight. So the action item for this is to really write down your values related to justice. And for me, those values are peace, equality and equanimity, freedom, diversity, and fairness. And then for each value that you write down, I want you to write down an action that you can either take in the near future or even take today. So for peace, for me, that's self-care and self-compassion. And I practice that by meditating. And self-compassion, I practice by really checking those negative thoughts or giving myself breaks when I need them. Equality, for me, is going after my dreams, not really stifling myself because I'm a woman or because I'm Black or because I'm, that intersection of the Black woman. And it's really, if I want to say I value equality, it's not stifling myself or my business or my goals because I don't believe in that I can attain them or I don't deserve them. My value of freedom, I actively seek joy every single day, whether that's doing gratitude journal or gratitude practice with my husband, or whether that's saying, hey, I need a break and going out for a walk with my daughter. That's my sense of freedom. And also being in nature really makes me feel free. My value of diversity, I befriend and work with people of all races, classes, genders, sexualities, gender presentations, but really also my value of diversity right now is really focusing, living in Colorado, how am I going to expose my daughter to diverse populations? Because to be honest, it's just a lot of white people here, which there's nothing wrong with white people, but I do value diversity and I want my daughter to be raised around diversity. So I'm going to have to actively seek that out for her the way my parents did for me. I grew up in all white schools, but I was always exposed to culture and diversity. And for that, to them, I appreciate them for that because I wasn't just, first of all, as a woman of color, being only around white people, that can do a lot of internalized damage, internalized racism. So for my own self-esteem and for hers, I want to do the same for her, being a biracial person in this world. And my value of fairness, I really try to check stereotypes when we can. Stereotypes are implicit, so sometimes we don't even notice that we're buying into them, but I really try to not lump people into one category, especially like me being a Black woman. I know the danger of stereotypes. So many people I've met in this world have preconceptions, notions of me just by media representations of angry Black women. But we're complex. We're not a monolith. We are deep and, like all human beings. So I really try to remind myself of that when I find myself putting people into boxes. And I'll be transparent. It's constant work to sort of honor these values that I have, but it's something that I believe in and something that brings me joy and makes me feel fulfilled. So that's what I have for you guys on really uplifting your mindset and creating change. I'll just summarize. First, seek joy, heal from this trauma. We've all seen a murder on national television and social media. That's a trauma. That's real. Like, I want you to honor that and find a place to really heal yourself, whether that's connecting with your higher power, talking to a therapist. If you need suggestions, I know a lot of therapists in LA, but I'll be more than happy to mobilize my resources to help you find a therapist in your area if you just DM me. So that's step one, is to heal from this trauma. And step two is to really focus on what we want, our mind on what we want, and to believe in what is possible. Step three is to really align our actions in our everyday life and continue valuing these ideals of justice and freedom and liberty and joy through our everyday practices. So if you have questions, I salute you, sis. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody that has joined. I am going to post this on my Instagram. How do I do that? I'll have to figure it out. And it's going to be on my YouTube for sure. And if anybody is really, really struggling and you don't know how to get past that first step of healing trauma, I think I'm going to offer support calls with a sliding scale for maybe those that can't afford the full fee to kind of process everything that's going on. Or if you want to talk to someone in your area, like I said, I'd be happy to help you find someone. That would actually be my pleasure. Or if you just have any other questions about anything else that I mentioned, please reach out to me. Like I said, I will post this on my Instagram as well as it will be posted on YouTube. And I thank you guys that have joined me on either platform. And I will continue to keep doing my part. And I hope you do as well. Namaste. Okay, I'm going to be here a little bit because I got to figure out how to save this. How do you save this? Does anybody know? Do I press questions? No. Is that it? No. Questions. Send? No. I hope it saves. No. Oh, thank you, Brittany. Do you know how to save this, anybody? Let me get JV, maybe he knows. And I'll bring Layla. Hold on, anybody here that wants to see Layla, 1 second. Jay, can you bring Layla? She's coming. She's coming. Thanks, Jasmine. Oh, okay, Brittany, thanks. Let's see. Okay, she's coming. Layla is coming. Hey, Layla. Hi, my baby girl. She's due for a nap, so she might be a little cranky. Say hi. Look. And look there. Grandma's in there. Wow. You want to say anything? You want to say anything? Yeah. Say, I love you. Okay. Thank you, guys. Look at this one. Look at the Instagram. Say hi. Say hi. Aw. All right. I'm going to sign off, guys. I hope this gives me an option to save it afterwards. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye to YouTube, too. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. You can download it. Okay. And